Welcome to XIO Voice. Continuing from the previous episode 142. Xiao Yan's tightened heart gradually relaxed as he looked at the white-colored figure in the cave. It's good that she's all right, Xiao Yan muttered softly to himself within his heart. His eyes swiftly landed on the old man in the air above the mountain stream. The old man's head was full of white hair. His clothes were white with some snowflower-like lines over them. His entire being emitted a chillness from the inside out. Xiao Yan's eyes paused on that old man. His eyes narrowed, 6-star Dozong. Xiao Yan mused for a moment before turning his gaze away. At this moment, there were dozens of white-clothed figures standing around the mountain stream. Clearly, they were the disciples from the Ice River Valley. His gaze took one look around before they finally paused on a huge protruding rock on the edge of the mountain stream. There were 2 white-clothed old men standing with their hands behind them at that spot. One of them possessed a strength similar to the person in the air, who had reached the 6-star Dozong level. The one behind might be inferior to these 2, but his strength had reached that of a 2-star Dozong. There are 3 elite Dozongs. Moreover, there are dozens of elite Ice River Valley disciples. This Ice River Valley is really willing to take out this much strength. Xiao Yan softly muttered to himself while a chill flashed across his dark black eyes. Big brother Xiao Yan, those 2 are the elders of the Ice River Valley, Bing Yuan and Bing Fu. They are both very strong. Be careful. Xin Lan's eyes also swept around the place once. After which, her expression became tense as she spoke. Xiao Yan slightly nodded. This lineup might be quite great, but it did not threaten the current him. The Earth Demon puppet was able to block a 6-star Dozong at this moment. Moreover, he was in possession of the Skyfire 3 Mysterious Flame and Tian Huo Zun J in his ring. Woeful Poison Lady, you will not be able to escape. You have been struck with the Ice Zun Force. Unless you have an antidote from my Ice River Valley, the remnant mysterious ice chi in your body will freeze all of your life force within a month's time. The old man in the air glanced indifferently at the little fairy doctor in the cave before speaking. Following me back to the Ice River Valley is your only chance of survival. The little fairy doctor's grayish-purple eyes, which were void of emotion, glanced at the old man from the entrance of the cave. A ridicule surfaced on her pale face as a cool voice resounded over the mountain stream with a chill within it. Before my life force is frozen, I will destroy this body of mine and will not leave anything for your Ice River Valley. A cold glint immediately flashed across the eyes of the old man in the air when he heard these words. He slowly said, "You are the one who has cut off your only chance of survival." He did not delay any longer after saying these words. A chilling aura gradually surged from his body. Since you don't like to take a path that allows you to live, the old me shall personally capture you and bring you back to the Ice River Valley. The space in front of the old man became distorted after his final words sounded. Immediately a chilling aura lingered and densely packed ice pricks surfaced in the air. Chi chi chi, the old man waved his sleeves gently. Countless numbers of ice pricks in front of him shook as they rushed out from all directions with a swoosh sound. The densely packed surroundings enveloped a radius of 100 feet around the mountain stream. The little fairy doctor frowned as she looked at the ice pricks that cut through the air and rushed over. Currently, she was seriously injured and was definitely no match for Bing Yuan. Moreover, there were 2 other elite Dozongs around the mountain stream. If she were to attack, it was likely that she would really not have the opportunity to flee this time around. Even if I die, I must definitely not land in their hands. A dense, grayish-purple Do-Chi surged out of the little fairy doctor's body. After which, it covered the entrance of the cave. The ice pricks were swiftly eroded when they shot over. However, the energy barrier that was formed from the grayish-purple Do-Chi swiftly paled under the continuous attack of the ice pricks. Crack! Crack! The remaining ice pricks shot against the mountain walls surrounding the cave. Layer after layer of thick ice began to spread out with a cracking sound. Under this chilly air, even the surrounding poison fog had become much thinner. The little fairy doctor's expression changed slightly as she sensed the swiftly surging chilly air around. This chilly air was extremely strange. If it managed to enter one's body, it would be extremely troublesome to deal with. Back then, she had accidentally allowed this chilly air to enter her body, causing her Do-Chi to slow signs of sluggishness. It was due to this that the so-called Ice Zun Force from Bing Yuan and Bing Fu managed to seriously injure and force her back. I cannot stay in this place too long. The little fairy doctor became decisive when this thought flashed through her heart. Her body transformed into a lightning flash and shot out of the cave. She headed to the deep regions of the mountain stream. Ice ceiling formation. The little fairy doctor had just charged out of the cave when dozens of cold cries sounded simultaneously. Immediately, cold air surged into the sky. One could see that the space within the mountain stream suddenly stilled. After which, it formed a thick, hard ice with a cracking sound. In the blink of an eye, it formed a hundreds-foot large ice cabinet in this mountain stream. The little fairy doctor and Bing Yuan were sealed within it. The people inside could no longer see the outside, but those outside were able to see every action of those inside. You still wish to flee? A cold smile involuntarily surfaced on Bing Yuan's face when he saw her. His body moved and appeared behind the little fairy doctor in the blink of an eye. Cold air lingered over his fist before he viciously threw it out. The little fairy doctor instantly turned around when she sensed the shocking cold air that had appeared behind her. Grayish-purple dough chi swiftly rose on her hand before she swung it out. Bang! The fist and palm made contact, bringing about a shock wave that formed a ring and swept around them. Bing Yuan hurriedly took 2 steps back under the recoil of this air wave. The little fairy doctor, on the other hand, was sent flying backwards. Currently, she was suffering from serious injuries and her fighting strength was greatly reduced. It was impossible for her to be a match for a 6-star Do Zong. The little fairy doctor stabilized her body. Her originally pale expression involuntarily became paler. A bitterness appeared on her face as her gaze swept over the airtight ice wall around her. It seemed that she really had nowhere to flee to today. Follow the old me back to Ice River Valley and you will still be able to live. If you continue being stubborn, do not blame the old me for being vicious. Bing Yuan's feet stepped on the empty air and slowly walked toward the little fairy doctor. His tone still remained indifferent. A coldness gradually rose in the little fairy doctor's grayish-purple eyes as she looked at Bing Yuan slowly walking over. Her hands swiftly formed a strange seal. At this point, she could only undo the seal of the woeful poison body. Although this would greatly bring forward the time when the poison body would erupt, it was at least better than landing in the hands of this old fellow now. Bing Yuan was also aware that the little fairy doctor was about to risk her life and go all out when he saw the seal formed by her hands. His expression also sank a little, after which, his body shot forth in a lightning-like fashion. A shocking cold air was rotating quickly around his palm. Bing Yuan's speed was extremely quick. In the blink of an eye, he had caught up with little fairy doctor, who was swiftly pulling back. A dense chillness covered his indifferent face. His hand, which was covered by cold air, carried a bone-piercing force as it transformed into numerous afterimages that filled the space around the little fairy doctor. A low, deep sonic boom was formed amid this fierce palm wind. The chilly air was extremely dense. Even the air had formed wave after wave of faint white fog that rose up. The little fairy doctor's lovely body was just like a small boat amid a wild storm. It swayed in all directions. Her dodging appeared quite dangerous. She would have been struck violently if she was even the least bit closer. Although the little fairy doctor had barely managed to dodge that torrent-like attack of Bing Yuan, her intention of undoing the seal was also interrupted. The treacherous situation continued and she was in an extremely risky position. Bang! Another cold wind struck out, and the little fairy doctor, who had nowhere to flee, could only once again raise her palm and collide head-on with Bing Yuan. Grug! A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out and the little fairy doctor's lovely body was sent flying backwards. Bing Yuan's expression was cold and indifferent. A chilly air was spat out of her mouth and froze the fresh crimson blood just as it was about to reach the ground. Your woeful poison body has yet to truly reach its peak. Otherwise, just the old me would not be able to do anything against you. Unfortunately, Bing Yuan looked at the little fairy doctor, who was wiping away the trace of blood from the corner of her mouth. He let out a faint smile, but the chillness in his eyes was not reduced as a result. Bing Yuan had already lost his patience to speak. His body flashed and he once again rushed toward the little fairy doctor. This time around, some killing intent had gradually surged in his eyes. As long as the woeful poison body was still preserved, it did not matter whether the little fairy doctor lived. The little fairy doctor appeared to be aware that a killing intent had rose in Bing Yuan's heart when she saw the savage smile that had surfaced on his face. Immediately, she hurriedly maneuvered the little remaining dou qi within her body in preparation for the last struggle. Crack! When little fairy doctor had just made up her mind, the enormous ice walls around her suddenly emitted a cracking sound. Immediately, numerous cracks spread out. The ice wall eventually burst apart with a boom sound. The ice walls blasting apart also surprised Bing Yuan. Before he could recover, the rushing sound of wind was suddenly transmitted from above the mountain stream. A figure violently shot toward him. This sudden attack did not cause Bing Yuan to panic. A few waves of ice-cold dou qi surged out of his hand. After which, it collided with the figure that had shot over. However, the noise that was created was wave after wave of sharp, miserable cries. Bing Yuan focused his eyes and his expression turned dark and solemn. He discovered that the ones being thrown over like weapons were the disciples of the Ice River Valley. Brat, for daring to intervene in this big matter of our Ice River Valley, I will definitely chase you until the ends of earth. A couple of furious roars were transmitted from the mountain stream during the time that Bing Yuan's expression turned gloomy. His eyes twitched as he suddenly raised his head, only to discover that a young man was standing with a smile on the edge of the mountain stream. There were still 2 Ice River Valley disciples in his hands. Clearly, he was the one who had shot these people forward. The people from the Ice River Valley are indeed shameless. So many of you are attacking an injured, weak lady. Not only did you throw aside your face, but you also threw away the flesh beneath it. The young man laughed, after which, his eyes slid in another direction. The white-clothed lady at that spot revealed a pale, pretty face that was filled with disbelief due to his sudden appearance. Xiao Yan looked at the face that was so heartbreakingly pale. A gentleness surfaced in his eyes as his soft, warm voice slowly drifted down. Sorry, I've arrived late.